Welcome to Nothing Finer. I'm your host, Rick Beach, along with Austin Allen. Georgia rolling in after a 29-point victory up on Rocky Top. Tennessee had a little bit of a momentum early on, hit the big play. But at the end of the day, Georgia wore them down like we've done for the last couple of years of that offensive line. Got the 29-point victory, 43-14. Austin, what'd you think?
Very impressed with the defense yet again. This defense just impresses me at every turn. We give up a big shot. Richard LeCount kind of gets out of place. I don't know if it was a conflict of assignment or if he just got caught looking and standing still a little bit, but he gives that up. And then we give up another easy one off of a David Marshall roughing the passer. You know, David Marshall has been out a good bit of this year, so that's just one of them things of him getting back into the rhythm of the game and knowing when to let up and all that stuff. But then after that, Jake Fromm just took command of this game. He slung it around. Lawrence Cager once again showing us, you know, why he's a valuable piece to this team. And just the way we attack, man, I mean, I loved all of it. Zamir White, finally get to see him back on the field again, looking real explosive. And Brian Herrien, just taking advantage every carry he gets. You know, I've talked with this to you a lot about how maybe Zamir should step over Brian, but Brian's just not letting that happen. He's just going to keep grinding, keep doing what he does, and, you know, he's getting a little bit more explosive, and he's running, you know, running hard downhill.
If you watch Herrien, what he does that I'm really impressed with, the veteran out of him, he follows his blocks. He lets the holes develop, and he runs through there where still with Zamir, he's a big physical guy, but the younger you are, you don't really wait on that to happen. Where Herrien's kind of, he's learned that. He's got that experience under him. So he waits for the blocks, sees the holes open up, then he goes the real physical run on that one long one that he had. And on defense, the run defense was great again. Pass defense, it seems yet again we get these big physical receivers. With Notre Dame, they had the big tight end underneath.
Yeah.
Tennessee ran a couple routes underneath, got some big yards out of it. And then, of course, the Callaway touchdown on the outside. But like you spoke about it, LeCount just kind of got crossed up.
Yeah.
He, you know, bit on the move, the inside move, throwing up there. But that's okay. That's going to happen in the course of a game.
Yeah,
Missouri, a couple of years ago, hit a couple bombs. That was the only points they had. So if that's all you give up in a game,
nothing
that's
wrong
okay.
with that,
But you have to think when Georgia faces a passing-type offense, when is this going to become a bigger issue where right now we could cover it against Tennessee? You could play Notre Dame and cover your holes up a little bit. But when we play a team who maybe we can't just shut down all the way, is that going to be an issue later on this season?
It could be, especially if we don't get back healthy like we need to. I think getting Tyson Campbell back will be huge for one side of the field, and because we know Eric Stokes is going to do his thing. He's going to lock down half the field basically, and J.R. Reed as well. So, you know, the real question marks are at free safety with LeCount and with DJ Daniel and whoever we have rotating in there at this time. But hopefully we'll get Tyson back soon, because I think once we do that, and we'll be able to lock down more of these. Because you see Tennessee kind of killed us with that one bomb, but, you know, the rest of their passing game was kind of ineffective. We kind of adjusted from 2 weeks ago versus Notre Dame, where they were kind of killing us inside, across the middle and stuff, and we kind of bared down on that a little bit more. So I see the improvements, you know, and I see the adjustments. So as far as just personally, I think Richard LeCount does have a lot of work to do still. I think, you know, what's made Richard good to this point is the competition, the people behind him, pushing him to go farther. So I look to see a little bit more of that. Maybe they sprinkle in a little Lewis Scene and give him some playing time just to kind of light a fire under LeCount.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we're giving up monster yardage.
No, absolutely.
You know, Tennessee got a lot more yards than I would like to see them get, and a lot of it was just little, you know, 7, 8, 9 little chunks like that. But my concern for this defense is we know how good we are against we're the only team in the country not to allow a rushing touchdown. We know where that's at. And Jordan Davis being out this game did hurt to an extent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to think when he comes back, hopefully he'll come back this weekend. But if not, you know, at least by Florida, you hope to have Jordan Davis back.
Yeah.
Because what's happening with this defense, as good as they are against the rush, you don't want this to become more of an issue. You don't want to play somebody, and we've talked about like a Florida who just hits these 10, 12-yard passes and break a tackle. Now they're going to the house.
Yeah.
And that costs you a game later on. So you got to tighten up a little bit on defense. As good as they're playing and as, you know, one play here, one play there, there's definitely issues at that spot on defense, and that's keeping some of these games closer than what we want. On the flip side, on offense, we did what we're going to do. We're very balanced. Now, Swift led the team in receiving. He had 72 yards receiving. He had 72 yards rushing. Yeah. So it really split up. But Fromm showed why he is what he is.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate leader. He's that guy. He is your, prototypical quarterback, NFL style.
Absolutely.
He hit some awesome back shoulder throws.
Yeah.
3rd and 5, he hit Robertson on a beautiful pass down the sideline.
Beautiful flag route.
And that's what you need. And, when people say, well, he don't put up the Justin Fields numbers, he don't put up the Jalen Hurts, he don't have to. His job is to manage that game. There was a couple times he called the all ball at the line, and we get 13, 14 yards on the run. He flips it. He puts us in a position to be successful, and this weekend just highlighted it.
Yeah, and I think some of what you're saying is why Kirby preaches on tackling so much, because we don't want to get out and give up a little screenplay and then let them take off and we miss a tackle, Right. So I think that's why he preaches. And you can see the improvement of that every week. We fly to the ball and we tackle very well. Richard LeCount's tackling was much improved, wrapped up, had a pretty good hit stick on that guy coming
right
across
over
the
the
middle. Yeah. And, I think that's important. I think the way we defend the outside perimeter, like screen game and stuff like that, is going to be crucial going in against teams like Florida and Auburn. They love to get out quick to the edge and try and let their wide receivers run a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's super. And same thing with Alabama, too. This seems to be a common theme across the conference right now. It's the way they like to dink it out outside and then let their receiver take off,
That's how everybody wants to play. And you're looking, and we'll talk about the touchdown in a second, but Tay Crowder had a big game. Even before he had the touchdown,
yeah, he did.
He was nailing that. He was shooting up through the A gap. Yeah. He was forcing players, the running back, to kick it outside. And he might not have made the tackle like 2 or 3 times. He got contact, hold him up.
Yeah.
Rest of the defense come. And so when you have linebackers that can fly to the ball like these guys seem to be doing, and you have a Tay Crowder, that helps on these little screen games. That helps on all. And Tay's
set
smart.
up the.
He puts himself in a good position every game when you see how he knows where the ball is going, and that's what you need on defense. It ain't just talent of a Kobe Dean or Monty Rice. It's being football smart.
Yeah. And Tay set up that sack for Eric Stokes by selling the stunt as hard as he did, the twist around, and it drew Moore's attention to that side. And the next thing you know, Eric Stokes got the free blindside lick. So, Tay doing a lot of intangible things, man, and I'm super proud of him. I think that's awesome. I love what he's developed into, and when he was here with Mark Richt, I don't think you could have ever envisioned him being what he is today.
I mean, when him and Mark Webb coming up now, he's a junior. The guys that switched from one side of the ball to the other, they didn't transfer, they didn't cry about it. They went to work. They went to work in the classroom, in the weight room, and now somebody like Tay, he's been on special teams. Then he worked a little bit in there. And then last year he got on the field. Then he got to start at the end of the year. And, that's the kind of guy this year during the season you look at and go, he deserves it.
Yeah.
He deserves all the attention he's getting, all this, hoopla he's getting. He's earned it the hard way. He went to work, showed up, goes in the classroom, and comes out. And he's starting over guys that are 5 stars. And we talked about the intangible stuff that don't show up on a stat sheet is what he excels in. And so big shout out to Tay Crowder, his local guy. Yeah. And that's just, it was awesome to see him get the touchdown. But let's talk about the hit. We talked about the running back shifting over. All the attention being on Tay, they forget about Eric Stokes comes flying in there.
Booted him.
And that's a textbook hit. That's what you want. He didn't go for the head or neck, went for the body, ball pops out, ref takes a tumble with it, throws a good block, and Tay goes down the sidelines. But that stuff is going to be on film now. Now people got to think about, well, Georgia is going to send a blitz. They are capable of sending these corner blitzes. So now you take that away, good win up on Rocky Top. It's a homecoming weekend, not for the university, but Will Muschamp coming into town, Brian McClendon, Thomas Brown on the coaching staff. You got South Carolina. They've kind of been struggling this year. Well, not kind of, they have been struggling. Big win over Kentucky a couple weeks ago. So a little bit of momentum coming in with them. But how do you see this weekend's game going?
Kind of like this weekend did. I think pretty much from this point on, we'll get every team that we play. They'll throw everything that they have at us, and that's pretty much where we're at.
Well, Tennessee had a bye week. Now South Carolina has a bye week.
Yeah, they're going to come off a bye week, and they're going to come off with they're going to be a little creative with their play calling up front, and they're going to try and score some early points, kind of like they did against Bama. We see that Will Muschamp, if he feels like this is a big game and getting the upset would be huge, he's not scared to just go ahead and try whatever to go and get it. So I see a lot of that going on, but I think it'll be more of the same. They'll start to tire out, and we'll just keep gassed. And the next thing you know, folks will be hitting the deck and injury timeouts, and Georgia will put up a few points right before halftime to kind of stretch it out, and then it'll just keep.
It's just that's
just the formula I see that Kirby's making.
We saw it in 17. It really came out. At 16 they tried to get it that way. His first year they finally bought in. 17, and we hear Kirby say, "Lean on them until they break." Mm-hmm. That's how these. I don't know if we'd even cover. I think it's 24-point spread, but Georgia ain't interested in how many points can we beat them by.
Right.
Let's just beat them physically, and by the end of the game we're going to win. We're going to wear them down. Helinski's came in, had some pretty good games for him. But we've seen with young quarterbacks come out, early on there. But when these guys get film on you, and we're going to talk about it a little bit with the Florida-Auburn game, Bo Nix, once they got a little film on him, they knew how to hide these coverages, disguise it a little bit, and they struggle a little bit. So with Helinski having more games under his belt, now Kirby and them got some film on him, so you're thinking they're going to be able to attack, his stuff. And they don't have that big tight end underneath that they had a couple of years that used to give us trouble.
Yeah.
But I do see it kind of being a 17-10 at halftime or something kind of close. Then by the end of the day, it'll be a 38-20 victory or something like that. So it's always fun seeing some of these guys come back. Muschamp and McClendon being former Dawgs, players and coaches for the latter two. So this weekend it's going to be fun being back in Athens. 12 o'clock kickoff. SEC Nation be over at Myers Quad. So it'll be a good atmosphere. Across the country, going to be a lot of good games this weekend. But before we jump into that, let's talk real quick on the Auburn-Florida game.
Yeah.
Obvious reasons Georgia had a lot of interest in that game. Two big rivals. But for the East, we're all pulling for Auburn right there. So hopefully by Jacksonville, we thought we might be able to eliminate the Gators. They came out and their defense played lights out against Auburn's offense. I fell for it. I bought in. First time I ever really went all in on Gus, thinking he was, going to have it turned around. He didn't. What did you come out of that game thinking that we did? We knew Auburn's defense was good, but what did you think of Auburn's offense?
Just something that I knew was at some point going to be an inevitability. I mean, Bo Nix just from the beginning, even through the Oregon game, and he come out and he won the game, but he doesn't look technically savvy. He's not super accurate. He doesn't have the strongest arm. So what are his real tangible qualities that would lead Gus to believe in him? You know what I'm saying? Because through the summer, you heard me talk about, I think Joey Gatewood should get the job. I think, you should come out and start with Gatewood, and then if things go south, then, you can put Bo Nix in. But now you got yourself in a situation where we're sure Gatewood's thinking about transferring out at this point. And
to not even get an opportunity in this game where Nix looks so in over his head, but you stick with him 100% and never give Gatewood a shot. So you pretty much just showed you're all in. You went, all your chips are in on Bo Nix. So Gatewood's got to be thinking, if he sticks around, or maybe he's going to start looking around. We see these quarterbacks are so quick to pull the trigger to get into the transfer portal, and it's got to be crossing his mind. He's from the state of Florida. He might look at going to Florida. We know how they are at quarterback. Frank's leaving. Trask is going to be leaving. Emory Jones, obviously not too high on Dan Mullen's list, falling behind in the depth chart. So I could see him landing at somewhere like a Florida. But that Florida defense this weekend was lights out. And I don't know if it's because of the freshman quarterback or how talented they are. We know they're talented, the starting 11. I just knew Gus would wear them down. They didn't run Schwartz near like they did before.
Yeah, no. And Auburn kind of got in a rut offensively where it seemed like the plays that they were calling all through earlier in the season that were working, they just kept harping on those, and then they started to not work, last Saturday versus Florida. And I think that's kind of where the issues came in, as Gus his play calling got a little stale. And I'm not usually one to judge play calling because I don't know their game plan, but it's just Gus's offense is already so simple. It's only predicated off of 4 or 5 different plays that turn into different variations of that. And I think it just gets a little stale, and it's not once a guy like Todd Grantham can scheme up and see that he can apply pressure to Bo Nix, and Bo Nix will fold like a lawn chair, then that's what he's going to do.
But they had nothing to counter it.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't want to dump it off. And you just have to, what's he thinking?
And you got no power game up the middle either, so there's nothing. I mean, you're turning yourself one-dimensional because you can only work the edges of the field, and if you try and give Bo Nix too much responsibility, then
he couldn't.
This is what happens.
Multiple reads were giving him issues. He would check. He couldn't check down. And we saw, I think he lost 20-something yards on a sack.
Yeah.
And that should have told you right there,
Yeah,
this
that was
kid
bad.
is in over his head.
Yeah, that was way too bad.
And, then the fourth down play at the end of the game, he tried to throw the ball up in there, you have a 6'3" receiver in Seth Williams, your best receiver. Just throw it up. Even if he's in triple coverage, there's a better chance of him getting that than you gaining 11, 12 yards, whatever he needed. So that wraps up week 5. This weekend, a lot of big games. In the SEC, the big game is going to be the LSU-Florida game. Florida going down to Baton Rouge, late night kickoff.
Huge game.
You think this Florida defense is going to be up to the challenge of what faces them now? They're going from a Gus Malzahn, who basically was riding on a reputation because people like me just fell for it, thinking they were going to be one of these heavyweights. Now you got Joe Burrow. Now you got this LSU offense who's been clicking all season.
Yes.
Really started at the end of last year. How do you see this weekend's game going?
LSU's really good at Death Valley at night. I don't know how much of a factor that will play into this game, but I do think that Kyle Trask will face some real adversity this week that he hasn't yet. I mean, Auburn's defense is really good, but they just didn't seem to get to him as much as they really could have or should have to stay in that game. So I think LSU pulls this one out. I think Joe Brady and Joe Burrow together, they've created something that's pretty dynamic. Obviously, it's taxing a little bit on their defense. Right. But I still don't see Florida's offense as enough of a threat really to push LSU.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now the question mark on both teams has been LSU's defense, which I've never thought I'd end up saying that. And then Florida's offense, which you look before McElwain or before Muschamp, we never envisioned they'd ever have a problem on offense. Yeah. But when you got these two, which one's going to be better? I think LSU's defense is better than Florida's offense. Florida's offense is really pitiful at the offensive line. They got playmakers on the outside. Trask is a good quarterback, but he hasn't been in a situation like that. He came in against Kentucky, led that comeback. Then the Auburn game being, down in Gainesville, but going into Death Valley, it's going to be a huge game, huge matchup. ESPN got the brightest of lights on you here. I just don't know if this Florida offense is going to be up to that task because you got to think LSU is going to score a lot of points. Maybe not in the 40s, but this Florida defense, I think as good as they are, they're not deep. No. And Auburn didn't expose that. Auburn never tried to wear them down.
They're on the field, the more possessions LSU gets and the more they keep Florida's defense on the field, the worse it'll get. And also a man by the name of Derek Stingley plays for LSU, a lockdown corner. Grant Delpit, this backfield is really tremendous for LSU, and I don't see Kyle Trask being able to squeeze it into these super tight windows like that. So I just think there'll be multiple turnovers in this game, and I think it'll get a little sloppy, and then LSU will just kind of put their foot on the throat and just put it away.
Yeah, I think it'll be like we were talking about with the Georgia game. It'll be kind of a closer game, but it depends when that Florida defense wears out, because if they get out there on offense and they keep going 3 and out, their defense is just going to burn down.
Right.
And I can see that happening for them. And, of course, being a Georgia fan, we really want to see that happen. Yeah. Because we do like to see Florida lose. It's always, just fun for Georgia fans to watch them lose. And this is just going to be a huge game because if they do beat LSU, and now you're looking at something going down to Jacksonville in a couple weeks being monumental, huge game. And so, if they can beat LSU, it sets up that game in Jacksonville. If we could take care of business ourselves with South Carolina this week, Kentucky the next week, they beat LSU in South Carolina, you have a monster game down on the St. Johns River that I don't think we've seen in years.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is can Florida jump on LSU early? Right. If they can come out and score real quick, and then the defense kind of get a couple 3 and outs, force a turnover, maybe force Joe Burrow into a bad throw, and then the momentum kind of starts to build with them. They take the crowd out of it. Yeah. And then I think that's where I can see the path for Florida to get a W in this game.
Because, anytime you're on the road, like when Georgia's on the road, I always say just weather the storm.
Right.
You got the crowd noise. So if LSU comes out just banging on you, if Florida can try to weather the storm, take the crowd out of it, get some big plays, get some turnovers, they could try to swing it and maybe walk out of there with a win. Should they? I don't think so. I don't think their offense is good enough. But saying they absolutely won't, because the Auburn-Florida game showed me the more we know, the less we know. The more we see these games, the less we really know. Because you say, well, they beat this team who beat this team.
You start trying to do that football math, and it don't always add up.
It never adds up because North Carolina lost Appalachian State, almost beat Clemson.
Yep.
Then they go down to Tech, and Tech scores more on them than Clemson did. Yep. So it don't add up. But you think you know more because you've seen more, and you really don't.
You really don't.
So I'm thinking that game should be big. I think LSU does end up winning, but that's not going to take any of the luster off what's going to happen in a few weeks. As long as Georgia takes care of South Carolina, take care of Kentucky, go down to St. John's and have another, it's going to be a big game down there, and we're always building up to that game.
Yeah.
Stepping outside the SEC, you got the Red River Shootout.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
You got Oklahoma, Texas. Texas, I think, was number 11.
Yeah.
And I think Fox is carrying that game if it was on ESPN.
Yeah, Fox at noon. It's a big noon game.
If ESPN was carrying that game, wouldn't be no coincidence Texas would be a top 10 team.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're looking at the two great, really good programs right now. Oklahoma obviously being great over the last few years. How do you see that game going?
I don't know. It's really hard to tell because, Jalen Hurts comes into this paper soft Big 12 and lights the world on fire and 500 yards here, 6 touchdowns here, and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
But this Texas defense is really good, so I think this is going to be Jalen's first real test, first real spot to where he's going to be put under some pressure and asked to do a bit more, even though he's already done a lot, but, the competition hasn't been there. I mean, this guy's been playing against high-level SEC competition for a couple of years before he got there, so it was like a whole new world to him, the world just opening up and him being able to do what he wants and spread it around all like this. But
yeah, I mean, he's seen competition like he's going to see this weekend with Texas, but he had that big Alabama offensive line.
This is a lot different.
It's going to be different for him as far as what he's seeing and the time he's going to have in the pocket, where he ain't going to have the time he's used to having this season, and the windows might be a little bit tighter. So that'll be interesting to see how that game goes. You think Oklahoma wins it?
Yeah, give me Oklahoma by 7.
Oklahoma by 7. I'll go with Texas. Just I think last year they won the Red River Shootout, then they ended up obviously losing the Big 12 championship. So I think Texas could pull this one out. They'd probably end up losing again in the Big 12 championship, just like last season.
Good chance it's the best game of the day, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And it could throw a big wrench in the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
As the Georgia-Notre Dame game a couple weeks ago.
Right.
You give Oklahoma a loss here, now you got Texas, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, all with a loss, and all lost against other top 10 programs. So it really starts that argument early. Another big game, Clemson. It don't sound big when you just look at it, Clemson, FSU.
Big. It's always a big deal.
But Florida State's got some horses down there. They got speed, and they got a little bit of confidence rolling.
Yeah.
And you got to think Willie Taggart needs a big – now, he needs a big win.
Oh, yeah.
This would be
huge
win and really lock him in for a longer time down there in Tallahassee. So that game's coming on. How do you see this game playing out?
I just want to see Florida State play hard. I just want to see him come out. I just want to see Cam Akers run hard, and I want to see James Blackman stand and deliver a little bit and just give, because everybody can see that Clemson's not some kind of crazy world beater like they were last year, and even through the regular season last year, we didn't think they were till the end. But you can see a marked difference between the Trevor Lawrence of last year and the Trevor Lawrence of now, with people having film on them, and I do feel Florida State's starting to build a little momentum. A win against Louisville a couple weeks ago. And they're just really starting to build something now. Is Willie Taggart the guy forever? No, I don't think so. But I think that this Florida State defense is nasty, and they're really physical. And I think they'll give Trevor Lawrence a hard time. I think Clemson pulls it out, but it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch. A team like Florida State, these kids, they got to believe. And when they see what North Carolina, it gives them a little belief before the game. As far as we can do this, we can come in here. We got just as much talent to say in North Carolina. And we know what they have at Cam Akers. If he can get going, get rolling, get some momentum going, have that confidence, give the offensive line some confidence, and give Willie Taggart play calling some confidence, maybe they can give Clemson a little bit of a fight and even show more how vulnerable Clemson can be. And later on down the road, somebody will be able to expose it.
Right.
Last game, real quick, USC Notre Dame. Obviously, it's a big game, not just because it's playing Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's in the playoff picture, whether people want to say they're irrelevant or not.
No, they're in it.
They're square in it, and everybody in the country needs to pull against Notre Dame other than Georgia fans, because if Notre Dame wins the rest of their games and there's any other one-loss program, Notre Dame's getting in.
That's what I've been saying, because as soon as we beat them and they stayed in the top 10, I said, okay, there's a real chance that we end up playing Notre Dame again, or they end up in the playoffs somehow. And that's where we're at, because with the track that Michigan's on, they're not going to hold any weight towards Notre Dame. I mean, you know, it could happen, but you don't see Jim Harbaugh getting up for big games. He usually gets blown out in the biggest of games.
Right. So a 6-point loss, to Georgia, who's a top 5 team. Say Georgia does end up running the table.
Yeah.
That is going to automatically put Notre Dame over anybody.
That's what I think as well.
And, you know, as well as Georgia just keeps going, Notre Dame's going to pretty much, you want to say, ride them coattails right to the playoffs.
Along, yep.
Now, if we have a hiccup, then obviously it hurts their chances as well. But you got to think, this weekend they get USC. I think they're going to win again easily over Southern Cal.
Yeah, and I think that too. I think Southern Cal's kind of trying to find themselves. They had some quarterback issues, some injury problems. They got some really good studs at wide receiver, as they usually do. But, you know, I still see Notre Dame taking this by maybe 10 to 13 points.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Notre Dame, they've kind of showed they like to run the ball. They like to play good on defense, kind of building themselves up to be like an SEC-type team without the horses of the SEC, really. But they are doing with the talent that they have. Ian Book's a good quarterback, a smart quarterback. Yeah. So I can see them kind of pulling it out, 10, 17-point win, and even bolstering their chances even more. And that does help Georgia even, because we are the only team to beat a team that's still in the top 10.
Right.
Even though people think the wheels are falling off in Athens when you talk to anybody.
Yeah, 29-point win, and all of a sudden Tennessee was about to beat us, and, you know, not playoff caliber.
And last thing, while we're outside the conference, we'll go outside of football once again. Hometown Atlanta Braves rolling in the playoffs, kind of choked away game 1.
Yeah.
Almost. Last night in game 3, they came out finally for the first time since like 2002. I think they got a series lead. They set a record playing 32 consecutive games without leading the playoff series. So they finally got that off their bat. They're hoping to clinch tonight. I had a friend of mine pass away from cancer about 2 months ago. He was a huge Braves fan. We've been saying it, you know, at work, chop for Jack.
Right.
So hopefully tonight, by the time this gets on YouTube, and when you watch this on there on WYBU, the game will be over with. We'll be celebrating the series win, rolling to the LCS. You hope probably end up being the Dodgers, which I kind of want to throw back, beat LA. It's been a while.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All the time we got this week, go to nothingfinerpod.com. Check out archives. We got some other cool stuff on there. Go to Twitter at nothingfinerpod. Go to facebook.com/nothingfinerpod. You can get iTunes. We're on, trying to get on where all podcasts are. We're on all that. What's your score this weekend, real quick, for the Georgia-South Carolina game?
40-14.
40-14. I'm going to pull the reins back after watching the Notre Dame and Tennessee not go too insane. But I'll just say, like in 2017, 24-10.
Right.
I can see that being the final again this week. That's all the time we got. God bless. Go Dogs.
Out in the woods you'll find me, somewhere out under, fishing in a creek.